to the game as soon as possible, but there is a lot of interesting things to talk about for Breeze in of itself. And here we go. Let's head on over to the tropical islands here. So for the Nation Gompers, they have never played this map officially before, and as we go into the second half, they're already leading a very nice charge. But unfortunately, that pistol round went in Kitten Shelter's favor, and it just keeps on going.
Yeah, Soto having the judge. I mean, probably not the best case scenario for taking that far range shots. You know, not really necessarily in the moment thinking of using that classic, but at the end of the day, it's okay, right? You got it going. The momentum is reaching. But that 8-5, let's take a look at that for a second, right? You got, obviously, you know, Kitten Shelter down in the dumps right now, really just trying to get themselves back up.
And historically speaking, the Nation, they struggle on defense rounds. And starting off here, they're looking really good. Coburg, once again, holding the site down in the post plan, trying to just find that opportunity to get onto the spike. And look at that, Gompers. Easy as pie. Another defuse for Kitten Shelter, though. They're looking really good for their own defensive half.
Yeah, and actually something, you know, we could, I guess, touch base on is Kitten Shelter, obviously, having some good qualities here on Breeze on the defense, which I feel like, you know, will carry them through, quite possibly, back to that tie-up with, obviously, you know, the Nation. But at the end of the day, right, it really just accounts for, you know, what they can put together coming up in this next round.
I never noticed that sandcastle poster before. That is adorable. That's about as well as I can draw. But you know who can draw better? Pretty much everybody else in our lobby here. They can draw some amazing plays, especially with this aggression from the Nation starting off. Now, there was some aggression early on. The Viper's wall orb does go down on double doors, but instead they cut noise. Looking to maybe find that pressure outside of B yet again. Kitten Shelter so far, they remain flawless on their defense. Hiding away, Furbza does have that op.
You can already see the tag there from Ferb, so they have the up, but they can't move anywhere. The dash, they're available, but Tig, okay, comes along. Make sure that they're there creating the entry as well, along with Wardell, and this is perfect, right? They're sitting along the back of site. They have everything going for them. I mean, how bad can it be right now for the Nations?
Yeah, look at Kitten Shelter. They're divided out right now. Everyone playing for their solo ones. Wardell overextending. Oh, but he's forced to dial back. There's so much space for the Nation right now that it's going to be so difficult for Kitten Shelter to push up as a group.
Yeah, but nothing going along just yet, right? You got somebody down behind in arches, and everybody kind of split apart here for Kitten Shelter, but Coburg, I mean, that opening shot off of Tig eliminates all of the problematic abilities that you could have there. They're no longer going to be able to use some of those smokes. You got Stewie, I mean, coming in along there with the 3K, beautiful. The eruption is exactly what we wanted to see, but Dark is left alone, and Stewie closes it out. You got that round 15 win going over towards the Nations here.
Yeah, the Nation historically too, I mean, this is their first time playing on Breeze. We have never seen them in any official capacity play here before. In fact, Wardell, if you go all the way back, last officially played this map back in August. But they look like a well-oiled machine. Now, we've only seen a few rounds, only like one rifle round from them. But so far, they've been able to play coordinated. There's not a lot of space being taken solo plays, such as like, you know, Wardell using a tailwind. No, everyone in the Nation are playing close together. They're dividing and conquering, looking for space as a core and playing for trades. Kitten Shelter, though, they're forced to be more divided. A lot of that utility coming out from Soto's over on A site, and he's left solo with the camera. But those early flashes apply so much pressure against the Nation.
Oh, yeah, and kind of accounting for, you know, what you said, they stick together. You can see this down in mid. Wardell, even though they did peak that, they felt confident enough because of that synergy, because of that teamwork that you talked about before, which is exactly why the Nations, they work together so well, despite being, I wouldn't say a newer team since these players have that history, but more so a team that, you know, obviously just knows what to do.
Yeah, and Kitten Shelter's a team run by Roy. Has been able to foster a lot of young developing talent. Some of them world champions already in their own right for the collegiate scene. But this amount of pressure is not like anything else. There's only 50 seconds left, and Kitten Shelter's pushed up so far. Look at Darkest.
Oh.
Oh no. Oh no.
Smoke comes up and somebody has to go down. It's always Wardell with the op, right? I mean, who is Wardell if the op isn't in hand? But also, who is Stewie if the shots aren't coming in? I mean, quite possibly no damage yet. But that's okay. You know, you lead that lead up, you can possibly see something come down. Yeah, not a lot to work off of here. Tig is trying their best. They have the entry. They have the space to do so, but not a lot of backup there. I mean, the angle's taken a bit too wide.
player standing.
Oh, but Roy
10
again,
seconds
just back and forth. Wardell falls. All that's left now is Brax. A desperate play with so little seconds left to get that spike. Extra money.
Enemy remaining.
Oof. Yeah, leaving the one Brax. Sitting just behind. You don't even know where they are. Are they around the corner? And they are Brax. That's great for them. The Nations, they keep looking good.
And that was such a devout round for Kitten Shelter to hold. They were able to pressure or have that anti-pressure for the Nation for the longest time, right up until the execute mark. But it all came down to the opening pick too. That was all done on a 4v5. Wardell 2 in a row for the op shots. But even then, what was left of Kitten Shelter anchoring on A site, they held those angles enough to make sure the pressure that the Nation could apply so much in the few rounds that we've seen can at least not be as easy it has been, say, in open quals or even earlier in the last chance qualifiers. And for the most part, the Nation, they're really good about taking space when it comes to their attacking rounds. The next map, we'll spoil ahead, is going to be Fracture. Very similar in terms of big amount of spaces, a lot of control that needs to be gained for the duelists especially. So a lot of eyes need to be on Wardell and Ferbza here for the next two maps. But when it comes to just getting that space, the Nation are really good at that, but with the mix-ups of playing as a group sometimes and not going for those solo plays, it's up to Kitten Shelter to recognize that and shut it down. And that last round looked like they almost did a perfect job of doing it. They just weren't accounting for Brax.
Yeah, especially too. Obviously, we haven't gotten to see a lot of the gameplay here from Kitten Shelter and the Nation. But when you put into account, we did talk about the synergy before. The Nation, I mean, Tig and Wardell, that feels like a duo that you just want to see, right? You always see Tig alongside Wardell getting those entries, whether it be off-angling themselves to get more information deeper into the site, or even just being there to be that second fragger to take those 2v1s, which is exactly why the Nation's obviously, just pulling together a really heavy attacking side.
But Coburg brings out that early, very aggressive Viper wall. If that wall goes up, you can kind of just straight back and forth and take the gunfights as you will. It's a big pressure tool against the Nation. Makes A very difficult to push past, even if you get into cave. Pushing A main proper, not so easy. That's why we see the Nation now spreading out. Looking to see who gets antsy from Kitten Shelter's side. Maybe someone overextends here. Pushes out when they shouldn't. Wardell could be on the other side. The scope down against them, but no. Instead, Kitten Shelter also recognized this. They're opting to play farther back, cards close to their chest gompers. Just waiting to see what the Nation's move will be. And as soon as this wall goes down, I think they'll have a pretty good idea about this A exec.
Yeah, they can hear it. Already tons of utility kind of being expended outward, so you can see that rotation really bait in. And as the drone comes through, you get that information. No push yet. Okay, but here it comes, right? You get that complete space parted away, and Tig starts to go in deep to get that information for Wardell. They play together, but the cross there, and nothing yet.
Yeah, Rossi's no command forces the respect to be found. Wardell, good for the opening pick. Roy falls, the IGL gone.
Yeah, everything's just falling apart to pieces right here for Kitten Shelter, but can they take it back? I mean, they don't have the util to do so, but the only one available is going to be that Marshall, those long-range fights. I mean, they're for the taking. Only 17 health, though, so the headshots having to be precise and perfect, with Brax sitting just alongside doors. Coburg tries to take the shot, but right behind, nobody knows he's there, and the assistance, it's not there yet.
Nice knowing you.
But here comes a couple seconds left. If they can hit it half, maybe they can continue to frag out, and this is it. Right behind, Take comes along, and they take it out. It's done with. There's not much to play with here.
11 and 6, great map control again. Rossi's null command forced Kitten Shelter, even on the thrifty round, to respect the utility and lose control of the site. There was so much of that pressure, so much of ground gained, that the Nation never let go of it. And again, someone with the highlight here for the replays is Brax. Brax and Wardell able to just find so many different frags, Take, again, just removing so many slots away from Kitten Shelter onto the site. But Brax himself, he not only played the strong anchor on A site just 2 rounds ago, but hiding away on double doors, letting his appearance for the double contact not be shown was huge. But now the Nation are going to swap it up again. A little bit more of an aggressive round here. Wardell's making me nervous with that Blade Storm. There's someone up there with an operator. It's going to be Ferbza. But they're playing it safe. Checking 2 different angles at once.
Yeah, the nerves are definitely there with, not really knowing what's going to happen here. But they have the good momentum. Ferbza, you said he would be a problem. And he was.
And now look at this. You remove the nest position, though. Ferbza are repositioning themselves right outside of long. The halls. Tig does manage to sneak on by with a spike in hand, all by themselves on a solo journey. It's up to everyone else, though, for the Nation to group up outside of A. Wardell still with the Blade Storm, all knives ready. It's up to isolate now and destroy who can make that false step. Furbs is already repositioned behind the yellow box, looking for down double doors. Has the right idea. It's a matter of who can out-aim who. The Op versus the Blade Storm, that's a tricky question.
Oh, no, but with Furbs to watch him with the op, I mean, Wardell needs a really heavy-hitting entry here. Okay, they offset. Furbs doesn't even know where they are, and Wardell manages to get a shot up above. Watch your head, Furbs. This is the 1v1 against Jets, but Rossi comes behind and just completely eliminates all hope left for Kitten Shelter there.
But look at Kohlberg. He's on an island. The Viper pit is useless. It forces everyone in the Nation to play back sight.
Oh.
Or is it? No one can retreat away. There's no chance of a lineup now.
Yeah, with Viper's pit still up, though, Kohlberg still in a good position here. I mean, all they really need is the flank to come around. But if Rossi can actually manage to take this one with Thick coming down, Kohlberg in too late. Can't even take advantage of it. And now completely lost the way. Darkest has to go down as well. And the Nations, I mean, we're hitting match point here, Keg.
Already. And it just feels like we just started casting this. No way. 12-6. From outside of what was a really good start for Kitten Shelter in the pistol and bio rounds, once the rifles came into the Nation's hands, it's pretty similar to how a lot of the Nation's attacking rounds go. They play slow. They look for info, not even just utility-based info, but once they find what they need in order to have that proper call for the exec, they just go in and demolish everybody. And Kitten Shelter, they need to double up their rounds now in order to make it to overtime. Fast once again for Wardell. The confidence is surely there now. No more nerves left.
You're just watching down in cams, but I mean, vividly you can see the Nations, right, sitting down around at mid, not much, you know, of an exec, just really trying to find that first-hand pick.
And look how bad Kitten Shelter are playing. Only a single body on A site. Kohlberg's defending it all by themselves. Oh, there is Furbs pushed up here. Like an assassin.
That was the shot. Yeah, that would have been the shot, but Verax just knew and had that gut feeling deep down inside that there was something wrong.
Beautiful. Viper's orb into the tailwind. Cloudburst is out. Soto's by themselves on site. The Viper's pit's out too. There's so little control that Soto can use here. He has to just run away and play with the team.
Yeah, and that Hunter Sirius actually put at such a good time with the tags coming out, but, I mean, Roy just can't use anything else over it. Can't even get that redemption based off what happened before. Darkest with the running gun. I mean, everything really isn't looking good, but hectic at the same time. Stewie, nothing is working out here for the side of Kitten Shelter. I mean, they go down one by one. Furbs are left alone, but the Blade Storm there, one more hit left to utilize. Luckily enough, I mean, a Vandal right there for recovery, so... You know, you put yourself in a difficult position. The plant coming down, I mean, it saves up for more time, but first, I mean, they got to be quick with it. It's a 1v2.
It's also match point.
Yeah.
On Kitten Shelter's map pick, no less.
Ooh. And that's it. That's the build-up that we, you know, can really account for. Even though we got to see only one half, you can definitely get the pacing of the game, right? Like, just based off of what we saw on that attacking side. Off of the Nations, you can tell they really do know how to play aggressive.
Absolutely. And, you know, we were also keeping an eye on the score off stream as well. And we were asking ourselves, well what are we going to expect to see in terms of Wardell and Furbs? Because they're that big entry maker usage. They're the big duelists. They're there for the first picks. You sometimes the opening depths as well. So what can we expect in terms of that tempo? And I'm glad you brought that up because the Nation, they're so fast with it. Their tempo is unlike anything else I've really seen inside of, you know, open quals and LCQ so far. And it really has set the tone for a lot of these attacking teams. The problem I was worried about in that first half that we weren't able to see is that the Nation's defense hasn't really been the most stable when it comes to maps, especially on a map that we haven't seen them professionally play before. We weren't sure what to expect, but they came out 6 rounds deep on the defensive side. They looked really good on what I guess you could consider to be an aim-heavy map, Gompers, but their attack looked just as good as ever.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, it always looks good when it comes to this team, obviously. Again, because of that Tig Wardell duo going into the entries, I want to see a map with the Omen on Tig and Wardell playing that Jet. If you guys, if we happen to actually see that in the future, you will know exactly what I'm fangirling about. But, you know, obviously, I mean, there still is one map of Fracture. So, you know, a little bit of a wait. You get to see a full game, too. So that's exciting as well. We'll see you guys get a snack right after this break.
To some, this is nothing more than cardboard and ink. But to those who know, these are precious metals, rare gems, a full set it took 15 years to complete. Low-pop rookies, hypnotizing hollows, one of only a handful in the universe, or an heirloom to look after for the next generation. No matter what you collect, raw or graded, to have and to hold, or to crush your opponents with, what matters is that it's real. Introducing eBay's Authenticity Guarantee for trading cards. Our third-party authenticators inspect every detail of your card and compare it to the listing to make sure it's the real deal or no deal, because we know just how much your collection means to you.
The game starts long before the game starts. You get your gear right, your keyboard, your controller, your controller's controllers, and the keys to your keyboard. Because warm hands are faster hands. Gain the upper hand and power up your pregame warm-up with Zippo hand warmers.
What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to Last Chance Qualifiers. The stakes are high, and I'm excited. Keg, what's going on? I mean, we just casted that. Even though it was half a game, it was as good as it could get. The Nations versus Kitten Shelter, and the Nations won in the first game. Let me remind you, this is round of 32, so stakes are high.
Stakes are so high, and again, for a lot of these teams, if you don't qualify here, you know, the rest of the season and the year might not be the best time for you. But again, going into this next map, we have to worry about something big. So we just saw Breeze. That was Kitten Shelter's map pick. But going over to map number 2 now, Fracture. This is the map where the Nation lost their chance to qualify for closed qualifiers. This is the map 3 in the series versus Dark Ratio, where they fell just a few rounds shy of either making it to overtime or hitting that 13 mark. So this is going to be a big chance of redemption for the Nation right now. A lot of prep work must have gone into this for the team because they opted to choose to play into Fracture. And I gotta say, I'm a little surprised.
You know, we did actually talk about, too, before, since we do see Kitten Shelter taking that defense, the Nation is going to start off an attack. So when you think about that as well, we talked about how the attacking side was so strong for the Nation, and that was kind of, you know, the thing that we had set up. But how is it going to work out here? Because their defense is looking a lot better on Fracture than it is on any other map.
See, the stats for the Nation when it comes to Fracture are weird because when you see the stats by itself, yes, objectively the win percentage for the defense is higher for the Nation, but you don't really get that feeling when you actually watch the game. A lot of it comes down to these 1v1 wins or even just barely making it through the skin of their teeth. But I gotta say, in terms of the big picture of what the Nation bring out for Fracture, I love what they do. I mean, with Wardell and Tig, right? It's not a Jet and an Omen, but when you have Raze and Brim, and you add in a little bit, maybe some Rossi Breach action there too, you can't hold a sight there against the Nation.
I can feel the passion through the screen that you're giving at me, Keg, and I like it. The energy is radiating, and I hope it's radiating off you guys as well. I can feel your energy too. Excited to see the game, but I mean, who isn't, right? Roy's Kitten Shelter, they didn't have a lot of screen time before, and that was one of the things that, you know, was kind of saddening down inside of open quals and now coming into LCQ, but we actually get to see it now, and obviously a bit more range this time around with Fracture, you know, a map that we haven't really gotten to see much of in regards to, I believe, you know, the nation in general.
One player I want to focus on for Kitten Shelter is Ferbza. He's the newest member of the team. And while in the past, Kitten Shelter, they've done really well in the Tier 2 circuit, it was their duelist potential that kind of fell a little short. But now swapping out duelist for Ferbza, you now suddenly have your duelist player, your entry, either being the top of the series in terms of, you know, stat lines or even that second place mark, right? You have that chemistry now with Ferbza also being with Darkest at like the same university. There's a lot more chemistry, there's a lot more buildup, and I think that synergy diff now is what Kitten Shelter needs to not only make it as far as they have already, but I mean, that could be the step that it takes for them to beat out the nation again on Fracture. They could just be Fracture cursed.
I guess, maybe, they could be, but you're going against a world title holder, Keg.
Yeah.
World title holder, Ferbza. That's incredible to me.
I mean, look, Roy has been able to foster a lot of younger talent. Much younger than myself. I'm a dinosaur in esports now. Okay. But I mean, you know, being
what
able
does
to
that make me? My baby?
No, you're part of the young talent. You know, you're part of the, like, you know, that upper rise for esports now. But going back to that, right? It's like when you're like 18, 19 and can call yourself at any level a world title holder. That's pretty big. That's an accomplishment. It's a resume builder.
It is. No, it really is. I mean, obviously having to work hard for that, but you know, just being such a, I guess, not really like that shining factor of the team as everybody shines the same, but just kind of really impressive to be able to see Ferbza on that team and really make the impact that they have so far. But overall, right, I mean, when we're looking at Ferbza and the duelist, we're looking at Wardell and his duelist and kind of like not really comparing and contrasting as, you know, Ferbza really does play that Raze a bit more than, you know, really just relying on that Jet, but more so it's interesting to see how much impact these two have, but in different ways.
Yeah, and I mean, what's a better way of testing the two out than on Fracture? I think Open Quals has drastically changed how the meta of the map works. And by drastically, I mean just how your executes look, how clean they can be. And most importantly, one big thing we should know is that we're starting to move away from the Killjoy mainstay pick. Even though it has a higher percentage of pick rate in Open Quals, a lot more of these successful teams have been able to run Cypher and almost make these defenses impossible to attack.
Oh, I kind of like the Killjoy.
I know. Look, I love Killjoy,
Listen.
but she's I wouldn't say she's outdated. She's in a weird spot right now where the Aftershock can't necessarily destroy the lockdown all the way, but you would think that's a strength. I think it's the mobility of teams and being able to kind of go back and forth in terms of rotates. It's all a big brain game when it comes to Fracture, and having Cypher without that limitation for your utility in terms of distance is a really strong plus.
I do have to agree with that. I think Killjoy we might be surprised with who might play Killjoy here.
Maybe.
I don't know. I feel like the nation is gonna pull it out with.
No.
Listen.
No.
I truly do believe. Listen, hear me out. Okay?
I'm listening. I got you.
Brax has the lineups. And this is a fact, right? Like Brax, whether it be Haven, whether it be Icebox, any map that you can think of, Brax probably has a lineup for it. I think Fractures, you know, even though there is that weird distance with, you know, the utility, you can't go a certain distance. I do think that there might be some of those strengths there and some of that comfort for some of these players here, which, you know, might come out and might be one of those biggest factors, because Brax is that assassin of a Sentinel that you're scared of, but you don't even know they're there yet. It's one of those things that I feel like is really gonna give them an advantage if they're playing somebody who they are the most comfortable with. So I'm betting on the Killjoy. I'll put $20 in.
Oh,
$20.
Okay, not bad. But you know what? When it comes down to it, though, we actually did get to see some kind of tidbits of Brax's lurkability when it came on to Breeze. It didn't have as much impact as maybe we would have hoped. It could have been more on the first half of the game that we weren't able to see. But in terms of the attack, just the raw invisible pressure that I think Brax brings out to the table is a lot more. It's not as known, right? Like, you're not really considering that when you're just casually watching the game. But when you see the Cypher tripwires placed down, say, you know, in the connector of B for Breeze, or let's say even connectors of B for Fracture, those are places where now that's a safety zone. That's a lot of anti-map control that your enemy team cannot be expected to push. And even if they do, they would have to, at best, jump over or use some of their utility, like, say, Omen's Shrouded Step, to get past that teleporter, or sorry, the cyber cage or the tripwires to not be activated. So there's a lot of invisible impact that someone like Brax can bring out that does make him assassin worthy.
Yeah, especially since they're always kind of watching the flank, and they're really keeping the team well put in terms of feeling confident enough to hit a site and not having to be worried about what's going on behind them, or even just what's going on around them as well, knowing that the frags are going to come through, which is actually something I love. You know, there have been instances where Brax has been right behind, and a player has made mistakes as to where maybe the timing was a bit off, and somebody had actually pulled out their knife a bit too early, but Brax was there to make sure the frags were taken. And I feel like that's such a big, strong factor of why the nation works so well, despite this team not necessarily being on the newer side, but newer side in terms of playing together. But they just played together so well.
All right, Gompers. Let's see if there's a Killjoy going in the Fracture. We're going to go to Agent Select. I'm thinking it's going to be double Cypher. I'd be very surprised, but I could be wrong.
Okay. I'm leaving. I didn't get what I wanted, and now I'm going to have a hissy fit. Oh,
Okay.
they're coming.
These are the old
the
picks.
The Cypher makes sense, but for me,
for you,
it doesn't. No, I'm kidding. It's a good pick. I think it is a good pick. What did I have a little bit of hopium for Brax to give me some weird Killjoy util like I had seen on Haven? Maybe I did. It was kind of that hopeful effect where like I wanted to see something different, but different doesn't get you wins. What gets you wins is confidence. And here, I mean, this is a confident pick.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, again, 2 maps in a row, mirror compositions, no changes in terms of agent play at all. I mean, this is becoming the new kind of staple for Fracture. We've seen it before in open qualifiers. We've seen it before in last chance qualifiers in the past 2. But we're going to head over to the first game. The nation starting off on the attack. Keep a very close eye on both of these raises. The way that you and I have both talked about, have coordination for the utility off of the execute is nothing short of wild, especially if the nation do what I think they're going to do. And they're not. But imagine, because in the past, they've gone underbelly.
I'll imagine that they're going to do what you just thought they were going to do.
Yes, telepathically.
Telepathically, exactly.
All right, I emailed it to your brain.
Thank you, Keg.
But they're not doing it, though. Instead of going underbelly for B and re-execing atop of tower, it's actually Kitten Shelter expecting that to happen. But the nation themselves, they're aware of that. The Cypher tripwire in their way. It's all setting up now, waiting for the bottom forces below the map on A main, where there's a little bit more conflict there. Opening cyber cage into the camera doesn't spot much, but the door is open.
Yeah, we talked about synergy too. I mean, already being able to see, you know, that stun come through, although nobody getting the pistol round.
Down A.
Really is a hit or miss here, and it seems like the only team that's going to be hitting the shots are going to be Kitten Shelter.
And the spike's already lost.
Yeah.
2 bodies left now for the nation. Brax and company already countered by pretty much every angle you can think of. Soto's hiding away. I actually really like this. Stewie's baiting out the door. Soto's trying to call the bluff. The C's, though, trapping Soto on site.
One enemy remaining.
Yeah, still taking the fights. But, I mean, this is it for Brax, right? You got a 1v3. Is it possible? Yeah. You got to try to pick those isolations. One just underneath. Coburg, though, hitting the shots. So then you got Brax left alone in a 1v2 situation, and the third just kind of waltzing around waiting for the time to peak. But, yeah, already Kitten Shelter taking that first round.
And Kitten Shelter, too, they've been able to win these pistol and these buy-up rounds really effectively in this series. The big turnaround, those rifle rounds. But assuming that Kitten Shelter do win this next round, it was interesting to see the setup for the nation bypassing what they've done in the past. They know that they have a lot of footage against them. Kitten Shelter, not so much for Fracture. And so the nation, they have to keep changing up their prowess every single round, doing new things. And already we can see those pings going through on B. Stewie has the lineup for the Haunt here that should capture most of Arcade. And yet there's barely a presence for Kitten Shelter on site.
Oh, but they know where they're coming from based off of, you know, obviously the information, and there comes the nightmare. Obviously nothing coming through with that Prowler, but already everybody peeking down with it. And I mean, the Nation, this is their redemption arc, right? They purchased the weapons to be able to pull something together like this, and if it didn't work, then they're down in the dumps, but it's working out so far. Although here it comes, Kitten Shelter. They take 1v1s time by time, and they just completely wipe the board of the Nation. Now economy's down, Keg.
Yeah. Economy's down. Into their bonus buy the next round. Keep in mind, too, this is the map that the Nation lost in a best of 3, the final third map, just by a few rounds against Dark Ratio to miss out in closed qualifiers, sending them to last chance. If I were the Nation, there'd be a sore spot for me right now on this map. And kind of just conquering your demons, requesting to go back into it. It's going to feel good if you win. But if you lose, Gompers, that's going to be possibly the beginning of something much larger for the future of the Nation when it comes to this map.
Yeah. I mean, still being able to invest at the end, so... money's looking good. Bonus round for Kitten Shelter. So the weapon's not looking good. They gotta pull something tactical together here, and there they are. This is what I like to see, right? The aggression coming outward. You got the information from the Fade. Although nothing yet, but still playing together, which is gonna play out very nicely on this bonus.
Yeah, and this is just destroying the eco however much you can against the Nation. Brax unknowingly walking right into the possible fault line. Oh, the assassin strikes! But he's only good for
he gets one.
He does, he does.
One.
And you take down Coburg, too. You can't use any post-plant smokes anymore.
No, but with Brax actually being able to get Coburg, yeah, like you said, that's very big and can lead into something even bigger. Wardell missing the shot. Roy is just going ham on everybody and really just showing that this is their game and this is their map of Fracture this time around. But, and then again, Kitten Shelter already looking sturdy. The spike down for the Nation, so they can rotate over towards A whenever they feel.
Look at Rossi right now. Deep in Canteen. As a squad, Kitten Shelter are playing together, looking for those trades. They have one body up. Trades on trades, they'd still come out the victor with at least one alive.
Left.
Or at least you'd hope. But they don't know about Rossi.
Ooh, but Rossi knows about them. Shots are looking great, but at the end of the day, right, it's the time that matters in the Nation, not really taking advantage of it and going towards A instead, really just trying to focus on those frags.
And again, we talked about how that was the bonus buy for Kitten Shelter, and yet with 3 left alive, all those weapons being picked up for Kittens, they're able to build up that economy so much, and for the Nation, not so much. They've lost out quite a bit. They're equipping 2 Stingers at the very most into this next round. The saving grace, though, depending on how the early and mid game does go, is that they have the neural theft from Brax. And if he keeps playing that lurking role, waiting for that push-up from Kitten, just maybe he could be good for one and find a lot of information for the Nation to go for those gigantic rotates. But we do have a bit of a pause right now, Gompers. Going back to the Keg and Gompers podcast, what would we call that? No, not Compers.
Not Compers, I don't
I don't know.
I'm thinking Last Chance Qualifiers would be the
That's a good podcast. Maybe they should bring us on for that.
Obviously. But, you know, along with the Nation being brought down a bit in terms of confidence and just overall, you know, they're going 0-3. They just lost that bonus round. Things are not in the best spot possible for the Nation. I think right now is the time to really just start developing, okay, well, obviously, we need to get as many rounds as we can. Our best side is defense, and we're playing on the attack. It's not looking too good, but just making the best out of a situation like that one. I think the best thing to do is really just try to split themselves as much as they can and try to take those default positionings to lure out these players as much as possible.
It's easier said than done, though, for the Nation, because a lot of what you can see the Nation prepping up to do in the first 15 seconds of a round, you can look at the minimap, at least we have the gift of hindsight, and already you can tell Kitten Shelter had done their homework. They're reading a lot of these, what is normally the bread and butter arcade executes that they loved on the attack to use. Kitten Shelter are denying all of that right away, and it's forcing what seems like the Nation to be in a very uncomfortable spot of mostly just pressuring Satellite and hopefully waiting for a push out towards A main. Effectively speaking, Gompers, it feels like to me B site seems a lot more locked out than the Nation realizes.
It definitely is. I think in general, they're having a bit of trouble just really trying to make the right decisions right there. I mean, the previous round that we just saw, it was A site completely free, but two players really just trying to execute out towards, that B site, which felt a little bit unfortunate in terms of that, because there was so much room to really just give yourself that second chance and opportunity to take things back where it should be. But I mean, Kitten Shelter looking good on Fracture. This isn't even their map pick, but they really just want to take things on their own hold since it is round of 32 once again, right? So losing this means they're completely out of the bracket.
Absolutely. And so far from what we've seen from Kitten Shelter, it's been very limited, but
Yeah.
I've been really impressed by the defensive rounds, but I did get word of something very special. I cannot wait to do this. Well, I want to compare and contrast two very key players for both teams that we're going to see, and again, plays into directly the fact that we haven't seen Wardell do this much. The double raises. So we're looking at Furbza versus Wardell right now. Now, when I was watching Dark Ratio versus the Nation, I was very impressed with that coordination for the utility. Again, to set the scene, a lot of just undercover, below B-side plays, emerging from the back of Arcade. You have Rossi setting up the breach, the fault line. You have Tig there with the smokes. You also have Wardell bypassing KJ Util up and above around the tower, going good for the great entry. But here's the thing though, right? We don't know a lot about Furbs and how they play on this map, but in terms of stats, it's just similar to Wardell, and they achieve the same goals.
Achieving the same goals gets you good places. But, who does it better is the question here. And, spotlight on Wardell, playing as the Rays, playing on the attacking side, needing to really create that space for the team. But there has to be some of that util to open things up a bit to allow that confidence to really shine through.
Yeah, and that's easier said than done. That confidence reigning true, stuff like that, right? But here's a weird stat before we get into the execute. Actually, we'll wait a few seconds because it might play into this very well. The C's is out, and Furbza almost taken down, eventually does.
Yeah, already pushing out. This is it for the Nation. I mean, they're really just going to try to push themselves as far out as they can. They need the fights, but Darkus isn't going to make it any easier. The Vandal down for any type of pickup that somebody wants. Wardell has the opportunity to pick up these weapons. They can't seem to find it, instead having to back themselves out because of those tethers.
Forced to back off. Stewie hiding away. Everyone for Kitten Shelter forced to reposition here. The spike in no man's land.
30 seconds left.
It's a duel right now.
One enemy remaining.
Draw.
Yeah, Roy winning that one out. Already done. Yeah, it's done with. And the thing is that was actually such good momentum for the Nation. But obviously Kitten Shelter, they just knew how to pick the fight with the Phantoms.
Yeah, Roy's the real cowboy. 8-2 so far. And Furbza has been really good, going back to that, about adding more structure for the defense for Fracture. Because a lot of the calls that we're going to be seeing this match are just aggression, just pushing up at the beginning of the round, because it's something that, if you're the Nation, you're probably not expecting. And seeing now, maybe outside that Arcade execute again. Can already see the fault line almost prepped up from Rossi. And there's that pressure in tower.
Yeah, already being able to clear things out, which is great.
Now keep in mind, there's that tower control from Kitten Shelter. They've won 85% of their defensive rounds in the few times they played in open quals, and we can see why.
Everybody's taken down within a split second. A great stun coming out from Rossi, just to kind of, divert attention towards B. And everybody already slowly trying to rotate off A, as you can see on the minimap there from Kitten Shelter.
And Braxton Tig hiding, waiting for the safety of their teammates to come through. Roy's still at the top of sand, just waiting to see if there's any audio, any utility sounded out, anything really. And most of the pressure is being put on Kitten Shelter's B-side defense. A lot of different options here for the re-exec. 43 seconds left. Time is limited for the Nation. Any wrong move right now could spell doom for this entry. They're already down one body on both sides. But you've lost Stewie, you've lost your info, and the Rolling Thunder goes down and nobody's there. Left. It's completely wasted.
Yeah, but for a good cause at the end. Just really wanting to clear up the site. And Wardell sitting up top. Okay, I was about to say a risky play. Nobody there to really execute and get that 2v1 down. But, I mean, being able to take out the Fade, which is great. No more Prowlers to open up the site.
And now look at the util in the back lines. Doors opened up. Double contact now off of the base of Tig. He's playing for lineups. He's playing for the orbital strike.
Oh, yeah, Brax, though. I mean, not peeking up. Wardell, luckily enough, being able to hit the headshots to get the information. You know where these two are surrounding. And the spike already down. So positioning great. Rossi waiting for the flash. Soto just behind. Once that dissipates, it's going to be done for him. And he's walking around. Watch it. Rossi goes down. And now you kind of lead this 1v3. I mean, you're not going to be able to do much.
And I was playing close to the timer too. All those options on B again. We saw the fault lines, a lot of util pressured towards the back of the site. None of it amounted to much. There were some opening fights, but again, the nation was forced to back off. The only times we've seen a clean execute now has been on A site, and otherwise it's been a struggle. Look at this early opening engagement there. Again, we like to see a lot of those blast packs going toward the top of towers. Sometimes it trips people out if they're focused towards B main for that opening pick. But no, it's covered every single round. And once again, hoping maybe this arcade push can work this time. Those aggressive tripwires make me think otherwise. But that pressure now allows Kitten Shelter to back off if there is that engagement.
Yeah, Soto, though, great with the operator. Just holding down the site and really just standing their ground. Something you need for a moment like this one with an aggressive play. Although the flash, this is great. This is where the breach comes in through the smoke. Rossi takes it. There's a bit more looking forward to because Brax watching the flank, knowing the second one is coming along, and the brain on that one was huge because he knew the follow-up was coming.
And Coburg forced to lick his wounds. The last survivor of Kitten Shelter's forced to back away. I mean, at this point, all you can really do is look for exits. Does have the Vandal in hand. The economy for Kitten Shelter hasn't looked that great either, so holding on to the Vandal and helping ensure buying somebody up the next round could be good. But the nation, they get at least revel in the fact that they got that second round for their attack. They've got a little bit of ways to go to even things up 4-4.
Yeah, Kitten Shelter really just keeping their weapons to themselves. They need that Vandal. The economy's not looking too great, but overall, Keg, I mean, the nations, they've slowly, after the pause, have been slowly building themselves back up to that victory stance.
Yeah, and I think some of that comes down to disrespecting the util that is being put on B site. We saw the flashes come by, we saw the anti-op shot against the nation, but regardless though, with Brax taking down that lurk in the flank and just ensuring that raw dominance onto a site, feels like the nation are really true to form for how they've played Fracture in the past back again. But usually when that happens, there's a heavy counter applied. A big stack up for Kitten Shelter, trying to out mind games the nation, but instead they may have chosen wrong. Instead it's Soto left on an island, forced to defend B all by themselves. But off that early util, maybe Kitten Shelter's onto something. There was that early presence, and now the ropes have come by once more for the nation to return to A main. The sky smoke is down, and that's the only thing dividing Wardell and Darkest.
Yeah, once it dissipates too. I mean, that's when Darkest starts to fire up the shots. Roy right behind. Oh, this is great. They knew what was happening here. They knew where they were positioned. But Coburg still doesn't allow the peak to come down, even though Wardell's confident, and it's still not confident enough. The 1v2 taken down. You got a 2v3 now, finally. I mean, this might be the chance for the nation to keep going.
Oh, that haunt is so strong.
Still too much, though. On the edge, Rossi almost had it with the headshot. But still, the timing was perfect. They couldn't even plant. And they couldn't even, I mean, really just create that execution.
And the big win condition right now for Kitten Shelter has been just waiting to see if they can catch out the nation on those big plays. Yeah. And while it hasn't necessarily worked the last few rounds for B site, playing the out mind games, waiting for the nation to rotate back around A site, they're reading into them so well. And that was a big issue the nation had when they usually swapped around for the defense too. They got out-rotated a lot by Dark Ratio, but that was on the defense. Now appearing on the attack, it's like a big macro game barrier for the team. And if Kitten Shelter can keep just reading these entry plays so well, there really isn't opportunities for the nation to find any map space.
Yeah, biggest thing is definitely being kind of just outplayed by Kitten Shelter really here on the attacking side. It feels like there really is that discomfort. And the only way to get over that is obviously trial and error at this point. But timeouts mean good things. Biggest thing is just, I feel like that synergy that we talked about, I'm not seeing it too much of it.
Yeah, it's been a little lackluster, and I think a lot of that, again, is that KS, or Kitten Shelter, they've been really good about just reading the opening plays, and I think that's what the Nation really relies on, that surprise factor, that in-your-face kind of attitude of just approaching a site. And if that's not working in your favor, I think there might be a little bit more on the drawing board that the Nation may need to figure out here. Let's see what the changes are after this tack timeout. A little bit slow in the beginning, met with aggression from Kitten Shelter outside B main, but through the sky smoke, yeah, there's people on the other side, but they're nowhere near the bullets of Coburg. Instead, it's slower again, the slow approach. Look behind Black Box, though. It's gonna be Furbza waiting.
Oh, this is great, because Darkus is actually working with Furbza here. Although they don't even know.
It's off
I
that
mean,
contact.
they know Wardell is sitting just behind. This is perfect. You got 3 sources of contact. The moment that Furbza peaks, right, you get the stun out, and Roy's going to be there for those refrags. Oh,
These reads.
the rotation is big.
Knowing for the fact that Kitten Shelter have been playing that same angle round after round, joining back up with Brax, who's far pushed up B. And there's almost nobody on A site. It's Soto again on that island. He has utility to help him out. All different angles are covered. Soto waiting for the door. Any sort of util is going to give the plot away here.
They're riding up to it. I mean, they made a good decision.
30
Now,
seconds
how are they
left.
going to continue this? Completely overriding B. Now Wardell slowly working up, but they're not going to execute. They're going to stay behind and really just keep the site.
But look at Brax. Brax is going for a gigantic flank of that. Spike might go down momentarily. All grouped up at the top of tower.
Yeah, and it's going to be dangerous too. Nobody knows right behind, but missing the shots. That's it for Wardell. That would have been huge. The winning
Brax!
factor of the Nation. Can they take it back? Brax is the only win condition here, and he slowly makes sure down through the wall, but still left no one. First it down. That was it. Brax was the win condition after the whiff. And I mean, it worked.
And that entry worked so well for the Nation. Sky Smoke's denying Soto any sort of line of sight to take fire. Brax again on that so slow lurk. No way. You were right about Brax. Just holding that lurk the entirety of the game. Catching people out. You're right. He is such a huge win condition if Wardell's not able to find that space.
Let's make him dance.
Always somewhere where you won't expect it is Brax. And again and again, right? Just always proves that.
And this is another thrifty. It's easier said than done when you have nothing but judges and a stinger to work with. All mostly pointed towards B.
Oh, this is great. I mean, they're slowly working up that momentum. They're getting more comfortable with the util that they're working with here on the attacking side and really just reading into Kitten Shelter.
Call's been made to go for that slow rotate around. Yeah. This is very different from the last time we saw, a broken buy from Kitten Shelter. Granted, that was their bonus buy. But this time around, they're not going for that same aggressive value. Instead, they're taking 1v1s, and they're losing 1v1s left and right.
Now, with that loss, Stewie still has, an ultimate to use, but the aim is better at this point. Just an aim and click. And all they need to do is get the spike down, gain some of that eco, and then slowly peek through spawn. But, yeah, I'm not sure Soto's going to do much here.
Down with just a judge. Look at the position he's in. Up close. It's going to be a little difficult on a site like A. Might be good to look for exits here. Fault line met against Soto already. The aftershock in tow as well. Still within range. Takes a little bit of damage there, but I think Homeboy's looking just for exits. Or well, he tried at least.
Yeah.
No
yeah,
exits there.
It is going to be... A sheet's flawless too to really close things out as well, but, the Nation, pretty impressed. Right, they slowly started to be able to read into these plays. We got to see Furbza, get completely read out on, and it happened actually the last round as well, where they just completely denied just the crossholds.
Oh, but here's the big question though: the Nation went for the timeout. They started succeeding rounds. Now Kitten Shelter go for a timeout. Are they going to have that same success going off of again a very broken rifle buy round to hold the site? Because again, we're seeing those rotates that the Nation are employing now. They put that util down on B. They posture it up, make it seem like this big, gigantic beast. But when they rotate back over to A, they do it by cutting off all audio. Play so slow. And in a position where Kitten Shelter, they're anticipating these gamble stacks almost. Stacking up 4 of your defenders on a single site and reading it wrong almost every time, it's going to leave that one player in a very bad spot. But the retakes have been good. That's been the counterbalance. Having that one person, again, on that island, they can read the plays, they back off, they play safe, and then they try to re-engage as a group. But at that point, the distance is so close together that people like Stewie are really finding success in fragging out.
Yeah, as well as, you know, obviously, again, this is round of 32. You got 4 matchups continuing. The stakes are high here. Kitten Shelter, they're fighting for their lives to stay and quite possibly qualify. But, you know, obviously, it's not easy making the top 32. It's not going to be easy making the top 16.
This is a certified Ferbza moment right here. The aggressive contact outside of A. Orb has already been captured, and certainly the nation heard that.
Got to keep themselves up high. Again, playing with the breach util perfect. Wardale knows what to do. Executions looking flawless. But can Wardale keep going? I mean, that was the perfect way to start things off, but they kind of lost that momentum.
They did. Wardale's stuck in a very, very bad spot. Luckily, the Prowler does help a little bit. It does get destroyed. Brax is way far away over towards Satellite. No one's bothering him at all.
Yeah.
He's just there for the pressure. But Wardale is still trapped, or at least he assumes. But everyone in Kitten Shelter's backed off, allowing at least a little bit of breathing room for the nation. Soto's still locked down on B side, waiting for that rotate, and they might be calling it correctly. Everyone in the nation's cut noise. Waiting to see what the next move will be, and it's actually a re-engagement possibly towards A. That's why we see so many floaters now for Kitten Shelter. They don't know where in the next 30 seconds the nation will go.
Yeah, but they're at the right spot. Luckily enough for them. Although they gotta be careful because Wardale's gonna come in hot. There's some util to stop that, which is perfect. 13 seconds left. You got multiple players coming out. Brax, the assassin, as we talked about it before, right behind. Versa, just up above. They know where they are. They heard the shot, but not gonna be able to win out the fight. And some of that decay comes down. And it's great. The last couple seconds, the nation's managed to come in.
5-5. Off of attack timeout, no less. Kitten Shelter, they played aggressive in the early round. They backed off and tried to bait out that engagement from the nation, especially Wardale. And you'd think in Roy's position you'd be safe, at least some of the time. But Wardale just knew. He read that spot and that peak perfectly. And again, it seems like, to me, Kitten Shelter are having a really hard time accounting for Brax, too, in these late game rotates.
Cage triggered.
But here we go again. Same Cypher tripwires going down. A little bit more aggressive on this one for A site. Brax, he's met his barrier. He's been respecting Soto's util so much. A Cypher to Cypher agreement. But there's actually another lurk this time, too. It's a 3-person push towards Arcade. It's read into, though. At least a little bit by Ferbza, hiding at the top of tower. But with only 3 here, there's a chance for a double lurking crunch, no matter where the nation goes.
Yeah, although with previous iterations, you got Roy waiting behind for Brax. And that might actually change things up a bit, but Ferb's so prepared for the worst right now. Not having much of the weapons to back it up, but the showstopper could be such a big detriment here. Wardale working up. Oh, that was a beautiful flank to start things off. And it can't get better than that. Already coming in the showstopper, getting another. Wardale completely annihilating the nation in a matter of seconds. You got the sheets flawless. It's done with.
What? I need to see a replay of that. That was gross.
That was beautiful.
I mean, gross is also beautiful, but I mean, that was the cleanest flick I've seen in a long time.
Look at this.
I don't even know what to say to that. That's nasty. On top of that, the showstopper kill right after. That was the aggressive entry potential that I've been harping up this entire game. That's what I was expecting to see round 1. And finally came out towards the very end of the half, keeping, again, Kitten on their toes. Early Nightfall comes by, no response.
Oh no, this is dangerous. Ferbs have managed to actually boost themselves a bit outward, but not far enough. Still though, I mean, managing to take out 1-to-1 here. So Stewie down on the initiator aspect there for the Nation. They can still work with this, but obviously rotating over towards that A, losing Brax. So now more players down.
And there it is. Neuro Theft is out against the Nation.
Right there.
So much decisions to be made. Double Sky Smokes go down. Full, well, partial A site control, but look how much is left for Kitten Shelter to just re-aggress and retake control. Almost as if the Nation, they're forced to back off. There's no orbital strike for TIG to work with. It was used early in the round, but there is a Rolling Thunder.
Yeah, just gotta wait for time here. And they're stalling. You can see Rossi really just waiting as Wardell knows, okay, the moment Rossi comes along, I'm gonna peek off this.
Oh, the Molly goes down first. The Rolling Thunder second to keep them inside the Molly if they can.
I mean, didn't know that Roy was actually trying to offset themselves, knowing that the Rolling Thunder was coming through, but Wardell, the decay is gonna be big. I mean, what can they do with this? Really just gotta rely on Take to get the flank. Nobody there! And it's Darkest coming in clutch, and everybody just stalling for that time.
I don't know about you, but I think that's an eBay clutch there. Good lord, 6-6. A very close scoreline. Even closer than we've seen on Breeze. But that was only off by a few rounds. And the Nation, this is where I get worried. Because the attacking side for Fracture, to determine whether or not the Nation would go to close qualifiers, was also very dominant in the Nation's favor. But the defense, not so much. A lot of the same rotates we had just seen the Nation use was also in the same playbook as Dark Ratio. So it's a matter now if the Nation can read the attacking prowess of Kitten Shelter better than they could way back just a week ago.
Yeah. I mean, already starting off the second half here, which, you know, again, the Nation better on the defense. So there is some of that hope to come back for the Nation to win this out and, you know, knock down Kitten Shelter to the lower bracket.
Yeah, and this second half is going to be important for Kitten Shelter too. They're down a map. The Nation, they only need, what, 7 more rounds to bring it to victory? Get themselves closer and closer to qualifying yet again.
There was a bit of struggle there trying to shoot down the trap wire there, but it was solo. Yeah, just beautiful. Already being able to take out some players down in that flanking side. Wardell can't even win the fight because it's just so beautiful. And there's nothing much to say about it.
Too late.
More pop shots. That's just a complete cleanup now from Kitten Shelter. Brax is the last one left, 14 HP and only a ghost.
And we've seen the shots Brax can take. Although not being an assassin anymore, information given, they're not in a position where they have the advantage. They got everybody just peeking around. Pissed around goes to Kitten Shelter.
Oh, taking that tie, bringing it a little bit closer. I mean, you have to ask yourself too, because we had seen that attack timeout come out so late from Kitten Shelter. It makes me wonder if some of that was also to do with maybe how the attacking half is going to play out for them too. They might already have those strats set up. And having Soto play so far back, the same lurking positions that Brax did themselves, is a really good step in the next direction. It denies the lurk potential that maybe the Nation are relying on so much to completely be null and void. And look at the double lurk. Not only is Soto so far at the top part of the map, but also Roy doing the same exact thing. Pushing so much utility over towards A, opening up the door. Stewie so far maybe taking the bait. At least having a presence on A side's helpful. But this is the same hold the Nation was able to defeat by just rotating from B to A, not just a few rounds ago. They never contest the 4-man site.
Yeah, I like the precautions they're taking though here with leaving one player over towards A just in case, even though, you know, no information has been set out. But playing the retake more so. Definitely not feeling too confident about B here though. So everybody starts to slowly follow up Ferbsa.
Oh.
It's on the workup. I'm a little bit afraid as to what's going to happen because the timing here.
I know, everyone's hiding too. They're starting to rotate.
Impeccable. Already coming down Ferbsa with 2, 3, and it never stops. With the grenade. Oh, just throwing the paint shell down. And being able to eliminate someone as they just continue to frag out down on site. That has to be an immaculate play.
And Stewie's the last one left. Arcane Sheriff only. Not much else to work with. Could be the greatest play of all time if it's nothing but headshots. 2 seconds left for the haunt.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Nothing but headshots is possible here. Having some information, no utility as well, but not going to use it. Okay, just relying on the aim more so, but peeking out a bit too wide. There it goes.
What a great 4K for Furbza, too. Just taking over the site completely, the nade kill, the opening entry. It makes B-site almost unapproachable for a lot of the teams this high level in open quals and last chance. We've been seeing B-site Fracture really transform over the last 2 weeks. And it just keeps developing more and more that we see these macro strats. But if B-site's almost uninhabitable for the attacking team, well, maybe A-site could be, I'm sorry, for the defending team, maybe A-site could be a little bit better. But B-sites could be the way to go for Kitten Shelter once again. Early sky smokes go down, a lot of pressure mounted here, but this time much more aggressive than we had seen in the previous round.
Yeah, the smoke not really doing too many favors here for Kitten Shelter, so obviously just coming back around. They can hear that information, though. I mean, right just under the rays, keeping tabs on what's going on here for the nation, for Urbsa. I mean, really just making the call, hey, quite possibly, let's go. No, they're sticking their ground here.
There were some early shots, some turnaround action there. Maybe trying to bait out that this is a slow arcade play. Kind of see that pressure there. There's a tripwire at the top of Satellite. That might bait out the nation thinking that's a full A-side take. But look at Roy. Still has that spike right outside the grasp of Darkest. A little overextending there. It's going to be so hard to cross that divide. They may think someone's at the top of tower or below Black Box, and we just don't know. It's Brax hiding. Waiting for B.
Oh, the Wardell stuck their ground. Okay,
That's a double.
that's great. They managed to at least, you know, really just loosen up the roster of Kitten Shelter, but at least there comes Tig, not able to get one, leaving Brax alone left on the site, but the rotation coming in quick, the one behind, a bit too late, the timing is off, but Rossi's trying to stall. What can they do right now? I mean, just behind, Darkest is trying their hardest, 12 seconds left.
10 seconds.
And Brax just won't allow it. It's pretty much over for the team of Kitten Shelter. Their reign of terror has ended.
Yeah, and it seemed like Kitten Shelter, they were kind of going back and forth, debating about whether or not they wanted to fake it going B, maybe go B for real, faking going B and going to A. There's a lot of options there, and Fracture could be a really tough map, figuring out what is the coordinated play. And a lot of the times we see teams kind of tripped up in that same behavior, but again, it came down to a very close, almost a 1v1. But with 8 and 7, now Kitten Shelter just barely maintain that lead. The nation, they gambled correctly by not over-rotating onto the site, but this time, they may have gambled wrong. A lot of util again set up outside of B, but look at the stack up towards A. Waiting to see if there's a reposition, but Kitten Shelter again, they're going to keep trying to brute force this top angle towards tower. Over and over and over again. Keep the nation on their toes. But look at that tripwire at the top of tower too. Fault line or not, still be good to trip somebody out. The sky smokes are out now and the execute is there, but everyone on the nation, they back off. They want to avoid that showstopper and they read it perfectly.
Oh, so close. Actually managing to get a lot of damage off on Tig, but Tig comes around, he says, karma for you. Oh, there's still a Kitten Shelter, right? They still got one left behind. Nobody watching sight with Darkest. So you got Coburg and Soto left. And they're still split apart. You're really playing these 1v1s.
And that spike is lost. Soto, still looking for that flank, having to watch two very 180-degree angles. Trying to help prepare Coburg to get that spike covertly.
No more charges left.
One enemy remaining.
Yeah, but still. Okay, trial and error here. 9 health left with a Phantom. Headshots have to be exact.
It's a 1v2.
Perfect as it is. Maybe trying to get some
30 seconds
damage
left.
would actually assist here in this situation. Yeah, but Coburg down. It's going to be Brax taking that one in. And the nation, again, right? I feel like we're going to be seeing that 8-8, 9-9, just continuous back and forth from these teams.
You think it's going to be a back and forth?
I think we're gonna go far into it. I mean, the nations, right? They managed to find those adaptations, and Roy's Kitten Shelter kind of doing the same thing. It really is just okay. Let's fix this continuously until somebody finds that really nice sweet spot.
It's such a hard call too. This could very well go to overtime. It's a game of counterplay and adaptations right now, and so far the nation, they've been doing well at counter adapting. And so is Kitten Shelter, at least from what we've seen. They're starting a new round differently. Rossi's there for the opening pick. You've lost your space control, but they're still going to go for it. The nation now going through sand, blocking everything off with the sky smokes. And all that's left on site. Rossi again, blind for another.
Such a beautiful, aggressive take onto site, but the Nation shutting it down immediately. And Ferbsa, I mean, they managed to get some of that damage, but if that pick had actually come into fruition, everything would have worked out in the end. Now really just leaving these players left alone to fend for themselves, but they can't. Because everybody's way too strong right now with these weapons.
And each of these rounds from the Nation have just been crunches. They're waiting for that opening play, and they just immediately swarm over the enemy. Taking Ferbsa down there was so strong.
Yep.
Again, a map so reliant on taking that space with the blast packs. If you can't do that, you're almost lost of the sight.
Oof.
And Soda goes down.
Yeah,
What a
she's
good...
flawless. But that's what you like to see out of Ferbsa, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and the Nation, they take the lead back, and this is where we put your theory to test. Will this be the opportunity now for maybe a retake going to a 9-9 scoreline? Because again, the Nation, they've been able to swarm the enemy. They're waiting for, you know, they're just waiting. They're waiting to see what that move's going to be, and they push in. There's been so much anti-space control, and now Kitten Shelter, this is their time to time out. We see the lurks. We haven't seen an aggressive push-up or a flank from the Nation outside of that pistol round. So there's a lot more safety and a lot more ground that KS can cover. It's up to them to capitalize on that, though.
Yeah, there's, you know, obviously being able to see Ferbsa and their entries have been humongous, right? Playing on that attacking side. Just the differences out of Ferbsa, whether it be just the aggressive push in there on the save rounds or the you know, obviously just the rounds where you would commit to those half by. There comes Ferbsa trying to really lead the team as a whole, or even just, you know, committing to playing along to those very, very slow takes. Overall, though, you know, obviously living up to the world title name, looking like a very, very good race duelist.
Oh, absolutely. And both raises so far this game have just gotten some of the nuttiest plays I think we've seen in LCQ so far. But a lot of the success that comes down to an attacking fracture round really comes in that first 30 seconds. Aggressive pressure once again. Wardell's ready. Avoiding the fall line, the sky smoke dividing everyone else from Carnage. Mollies go down to divide that space, make sure no one can pressure. And it just leaves Kitten Shelter waiting.
Oh. I like this high ground taken. Trying to maybe peek up a bit, but no. They didn't even collect the information. Already some rotations coming down. They don't know what's going on.
Oh, but that's huge info for Stewie. The Prowler connecting against Roy, now forced to not be able to move. He doesn't get pressured outside the door. No sprays just yet from Stewie at the upper angle. Of course, as I say that. But look at this, the tripwires. There's two of them on the stairs. Roy may only be aware of one at most. He's trying to get to the top site to maybe go for the plant. The Cypher cam is there, though it's hidden.
That's a little scary. I gotta be honest with you. You got two trap wires there. Just waiting along. Okay, they managed to eliminate one, but this is it. Ferbsa gets caught by it. Nobody's watching, though, so there is some of that safety.
There it is. Rolling Thunder out. Does catch at least one. That's Wardell. Force. I'm sorry. No, it's going to be Ferbsa forced to the site, but Wardell on the other time gets the blast pack. A great kill. Another one, Rossi.
Oh, and Stewie's in such a good position here. They peek this together. They pretty much end the lives of both. They're going to get that information. They know what to do. The timing is perfect, but a little bit off-center. Coburg.
Enemy down.
Right there alongside their teammate. Nobody goes down, but still there is trial and error. What are they going to do in a 1v3 situation? Slowly around the back, and it's done for Darkest. They can't do anything with it. The defusal comes down for the Nation.
The double swing. Now double digits for the Nation. Only a few rounds away. 3 more to close out this series and move farther into the last chance qualifier. Kitten Shelter again, they're down a map. They have to get this map, the one that's not even chosen in their favor. This was the Nation's map pick. They have to win this out here and bring it to map 3, that being Bind.
Enemy down.
It's a lot easier said than done, Gompers. A lot easier said than done, especially now on, again, another broken buy. Stacked up. Outside A again. More aggression meeting aggression. Wardell, certainly, I'm sure, really feeling good about these recent plays. He's going to lead out the charge with his little pet boombot. Everyone's just waiting like a firing squad outside.
Oh, but this is good. You can actually see Rossi waiting off of contact. Okay, there comes the contact. The stun, please. Bring it through, and it's perfect.
Spike
Perfectly aligned. Wardell knows what to do, and the teamwork, that's what we've been waiting for. The synergy that they just know how to play with for the Nation.
Carnage for the early round. Still a minute left on the clock. Only one's gone down for the nation. And what's left? Just making a desperate attempt to go to A. The Haunt not finding Stewie. He's good for another orbital strike for the... Oh! So in the wound. 11 rounds.
Oh, that's gotta hurt.
But here's a problem, though. The nation have done so well, but they hit their 11th round. If it's anything like we saw in open quals, defensive 11th rounds for the nation are like a mountain to climb, barehanded. Those early first halves, the early defense rounds that come by after, all leads up to the 11th. And this is usually that team's prime opportunity, whoever is against them, to get those attacking rounds in tow now. There needs to be a big change here for the nation, no matter what they've done successfully.
Yeah, but the nation, they suffered a lot of struggle, but right now they don't want to. They're done with the struggling, and they want to get with the times. I mean, they managed to at least put themselves in such a good position. We're almost going to reach match point. You got that 3v2. The only detriment here really is Soda's ultimate. That could be pulled out at any second.
Yeah, and this neural theft, it's great to find info, but how do you capitalize on it?
I know
There's not
exactly
even...
where
Oh,
you are.
I was going to say there's no bodies nearby, but they find one, and there's suddenly... There's a stack right outside of a satellite. And the cyber teams, they challenge it.
Oh, no. And they managed to get it. They
No
get the
way.
spike.
The great escape. And they're going to rotate all the way possibly across the world, but no, instead, they say no way. We're not taking that journey. We're going to play it safe and go B. Full site control. No util to work with. Only a single blast back from Ferbza. It's 6 HP.
That was such a perfect read, too. Ferbza had a feeling that they were going to come down towards spawn. And yes, they do, but now Ferbza having to hold the angle. Only 4 health, but they know where Ferbza is. Didn't get out in time. Now you leave Soto alone. What am I gonna do as a sole player in a 1v3?
No util. No spacing, no control.
Oh no. And not only that, but everybody just watching and knowing where Soto is.
Right there.
Ah, it's match point.
I mean, hey, look, sometimes climbing a mountain barehanded is easy.
Yeah.
But the adjustments we had seen, that's exactly what the nation struggled with before. They didn't change up how they played. This time, though, aggression. That round 13, rotate, the flank from satellite returned again. It caught everybody on Kitten Shelter off guard. And that was the aggressive play that no one was expecting to see. But now it's that final round. Series point for the nation. They only need one more round to bring this back a little bit closer to maybe face Dark Ratio again later on. But instead, it's met with silence.
It's not easy. Right now, right, the pressure's on, and I mean, already getting taken one down, Brax, right? You lose that assassin that we talked about before, and you lose that Cypher util. So what's going to happen with the information on site? You really just got to rely on Stewie from here on out.
Stewie's in a great spot to maybe catch out Darkest.
Yeah.
Planted. Face your fear.
Oh, not cut out, though. Okay, we see at least the ultimate being expended outwards here, but still, again, right, match point curse. What's going to happen? The nation, they slowly lose themselves a bit once, you know, the nerves start to settle down and they realize, hey, we're almost about to win.
And what do you do in those situations? Because so far, that 11th round has always been that time of nerves. Great time for adjustment for these attacking teams, but again, Rossi, he tried to find one. It wasn't successful. 9-12. Certainly still a competitive game. Only a few more rounds needed for Kitten Shelter to tie it up for overtime. But I'm looking at that showstopper again, coming out from both raises. This could be a bloody battle. Like, this could be... Whoever gets the most impact from their showstopper could win the series.
I gotta be honest with you. The
What's up?
Ferbza has been probably the most aggressive that we've seen so far out of Wartel. And, you know, obviously accounting for the previous entries that they've brought in for the team, although some of them haven't worked, it really is just that attempt. So I think the showstopper is going to completely exceed expectation.
And this is something a little unusual from both these teams. Attacking straight up B main. Spike is dedicated there. Soto's there for the crunch. Everyone from the nation, or at least the 3-stack, still waiting for that aggressive contact. But no one has a presence outside arcade. They may think it's that way, but certainly B main. The nades go down, no impact found.
The last attempt and the last chance to be able to make these shots count, especially with Eco. Not looking too equalized here, but Kitten Shelter. I mean, they take out Tig, they take out Brax. Those are two important informational utility, as well as just being able to obscure that vision, so you lose those smokes. What are you gonna do?
Wardell does have that showstopper still. Everyone, for the most part, condensed close to sight.
Oh. Reality has set in.
No more
Somebody's
info.
there. Wardell has the op, though, which is scary because retake isn't that easy. I mean, most of the time, too. You know, you got to commit to the save.
Yeah, and this always makes me a little bit worried. We don't we don't typically see a lot of defensive op play on Fracture because the sites are just so taken fast. But when it works, I suppose it works, but certainly not for this round. Waiting from behind, Wardell good for the shot against one. Okay, Coburg goes down, and surprisingly, despite how little presence there was in gunfights on that take and the spike going down, a lot of eco damage against Kitten Shelter.
Yeah, but you know, you said that the nation had kind of like that 11 curse. I think it's gonna be the match point curse.
Yeah.
Like they've pretty much been at a standstill for a while.
It's kind of topsy-turvy from what we've seen from them in the open qualifiers. They struggled on the 11th round. They finally converted 11 to 12, and then usually the round after, they're able to win. But now, maybe trying to whittle down that economy hasn't quite been an option here. Not so much a lot of util for Kitten Shelter's side. No blast packs for Furbza. Early orbital strike too, creating a lot of space. Chaos are just looking to take a brute force battle here.
Yeah, we really haven't been able to see much of the tension between Wardell and all these players with the operator. But here it comes. I mean, Rossi's looking so good the first two picks, and that opens things up so wide. The future can be seen, but it can also be ripped away in a matter of seconds with Roy. I mean, still executing with the spike, but nobody's there. The op watching. Wardell, we've been waiting for this. We've been waiting for the play. Roy knew what was happening here.
And what's the play here? Is it to escape? 53 seconds left. You can still run away. 3 stacked up on B, but they choose not to. Kitten Shelter re-aggress on the site, and Soto's there for the crunch.
Oh, still there. Yep. Okay, great. Shot through. Tig goes down, and now this is where the anticipation starts to really just die down. I mean, they're going to slowly back themselves up. Quite possibly even just slowly actually push themselves up here, as we can see Stewie isn't going to use any of that util to tether in. What was that? The jump peak! You don't hit those shots on a daily, but still managing to hit them one by one. Stewie is done with playing around, and he wants to get out of this bracket and go straight to the top 16, and that he will do. Stewie, one step closer to going straight to challengers.
I mean, look, 11 rounds, 12 rounds, a curse has been broken yet again. Barely able to inch by and make sure that overtime wasn't going to be a possibility. But a clean 2 maps regardless, though, from the nation. A step closer again to qualifying through the last chance qualifiers. I gotta say, Gompers,